control pin, and we're gonna do a Farside armbar, and we're gonna kind of turn it into a drill, okay? So I'm gonna show you guys what it looks like, and then I'll kind of break it down. We look on this side. Yeah, head on this side. Okay, so I'm starting chest to chest. I'm gonna pummel for my underhook with my top side arm. And I'm gonna control right on his shoulder. Now I release his head and post on the ground, and I'm kind of walking my knees back and trying to get his shoulder off the ground by pulling him up like this on his scap. Now I take my forearm, I lock it in front of his ribs, and I'm gonna lay my weight on top of his ribs and his arm to keep him in this position. So Pete can feel a lot of pressure coming down on his body right now. Now I'm gonna post on his head, take a step behind his back, far enough down that I'm in the middle of his back, right here. And now I'm gonna rotate into my armbar, while my hand that's underhooking is gonna thread to my thigh. So look how I start to rotate, and this hand is coming to my thigh. I continue to spin until I'm 180 degrees and I'm still sitting up. Now my knees are starting to squeeze. I sit to my butt, and I'm pulling his arm into my chest so that I don't disconnect from him when I fall. So look. See how Pete starts to follow me a little bit, okay? My foot is back heeling, and my knees are squeezing together. Once I get here, I can start to separate his arm from his body, control his hand and his wrist, and then pull the arm down and lift the hips up, okay? One more time. I'm pummeling my underhook. So I go from the top down between his chest and his forearm, and I'm hugging on his shoulder. My first goal is to get his shoulders off the mat. I post on the ground so I can help myself push up, and I start to scoop his shoulder and walk myself back until Pete's back is off of the floor. Now I'm locking my forearm in front of his ribs, just like this, just cupping his arm, and then I lay on top of this with my chest, like this. Try to put your back down again. Kind of gives me something to brace against. Now I'm stepping over his head as deep as I can to get to the middle of his back, and I'm rotating here without standing up too tall and without dropping my knee to the floor. Okay, so look how low my hips are, and look how this shin always stays vertical. Look how it's still up in the air. I'm rotating, I'm rotating, I'm rotating. My arm is threading through. I can use my hand to help. And now I end up in my arm bar. And I'm already starting to pull him in with my leg and squeeze my knees. I go to his hand, and then I go to his wrist, and I start to pull his arm down and drive my hips up. Okay? Does anybody need to see it one more time? Okay, I want you guys to go 1 and 1 each side and then switch top to bottom, okay? Let's go, 1, 2, 3. Whenever you guys are applying the arm bar, there's like 3 phases of the arm bar. The first phase is like a catch, and then you get the arm bar immediately. So this happens if you catch them by surprise and they never get a chance to connect their hands, and you pull it away, you immediately go to the wrist and you start applying the arm bar. And what you're thinking about here is the joint angle. So whatever direction Pete's thumb is pointing, the opposite is the angle of the joint that you need to attack. So the game is controlling this rotation of his arm while he's moving and applying constant pressure on the proper joint angle. So say Peter starts to move his thumb this way, I'm actually applying the armbar over my thigh, like this. If he rotates it the other way, I'm applying it the other way. I'm not always just going back. Because if I do this and he rotates, I'm never gonna get it, and it's gonna give him time to escape. The second phase, which is the most common, is when they connect their hands. Boom, like this. So it's not quite like close enough that he can do a figure 4 and get a really good defense, but it's still gonna take some work to get rid of this. So this is what I like to do whenever this situation happens, okay? So what I'm doing here is, instead of pulling his arms apart where his fingers are gonna catch, I'm crowding his arms together so that he can't connect his arms. Try to lock your arms now. And then I'm sliding down and collecting his arm with my forearms, just with a big hug, okay? If you pull against this, it's like how train cars connect together, right? The more you pull, the more resistance there's gonna be. So we're trying to push both sides past each other. Okay, so I have one arm threaded through. I want to collect his other arm by making sure I lock my legs with both of his arms inside. Now, I'm keeping good chest pressure against this side of his arm so he doesn't pull his elbow in. So I'm leaning forward against his tricep, and my free arm is going to go inside my leg, hug behind his elbow, and start to pull. Once I start to make that disconnection, I can unthread my other arm and pull as well, even working down to my elbow. And all I'm thinking about doing is making sure I have his hand and wrist inside. I start to compress and hug my arms and then slide away from his body. I don't undo his arms at all. I just allow this scraping to catch his wrist and pull his arm away. And then I start to go back and think about the joint angle, okay? So you guys are starting in the armbar. Your partner is just locked in like stage 2 of the armbar. Collect both of his arms inside by locking your legs around his arm. Reach inside of your thigh, cupping his forward tricep. And I'm pulling this to me, but I'm also leaning my body forward on this side. So my chest is a part of this, right? So I start to lean forward, pull his arm to me. And when I see he starts to have this kind of parallel grip, my other arm is coming in. And I'm thinking about really hugging his far arm, because by the time I slide back, I catch his actual arm that I want to attack. And then I can go back to applying my arm bar, okay? Does that make sense? Okay, let's try it. 1, 2, 3. Something I see that you're doing is, this looks really good, like you're picking him up off the ground and you're collapsing here. But whenever you're rotating in for this arm bar, you want to have your hips as close to his shoulder as you can. And what you're doing right now, Jackson, is you're kind of high. See this right here? So try to like sit your hips down and stay on your toes. Look at my right foot back there. See how my toes are active? Yeah. It's like I'm doing a little split squat and I'm rotating like this. See? So my legs are really engaged. And what's gonna help me is threading this through, and now I don't have to think about this arm anymore. And I can use my hand on the floor. See how my hips are really close to his shoulder? And then once I rotate, now I start to sit, you know? Yeah, okay. Yeah, try one more time. Nice. Post this hand on the ground. That'll help you. Yeah. Nice. Step like a little bit deeper near his back. Yeah. Nice. That's much better. Much better. Squeeze the knees. There you go. Look good. Talking about the arm bar here, right?
Yeah, my leg's flat here.
Yeah, it's okay. What you want to think about is like locking his arm in a vise. So it isolates the joint. Right. And our vise is going to be our legs squeezing together. So I want you to imagine a beach ball between your legs and you're trying to pop it. This is going to isolate his joint so there's no wiggle room when you try to attack it, and it's going to make the arm bar come a lot faster. Okay. So what you want to think about is as you're rotating, watch me. So as you're rotating, I step around really low on the back, and now once I get to this point, I already start applying that vise. I start squeezing my legs on his thigh. So look, tell me when you feel the squeeze, Stan. Yep. Right away. I never like leave it open, because this is going to allow him to move his arm. He can rotate his arm over my hip and start walking his body this way. See? Yeah. But your rotation looked really good. Like getting into the arm bar, I feel like is the hardest part, and you've got that part down. Just try to squeeze your knees a little bit sooner. Yeah. Thank you. People have when they start jiu-jitsu, they try to use their hands for everything. So what you did is you came into your arm bar like this, and then as you went around, you started holding like this here. The fingers and the hands are good for like fine movements, but they're not good for holding like an arm in place. Try to use your forearm instead. So that's why you want to thread through. And now the bar of my arm, see, I can fall back, and this isn't going to open or anything. It's going to keep me very attached. So try to thread your arm through sooner and rely on this, you know. Then once we get to the end of the arm, now we start using the fine motor control of our hand, you know. So when I step over, I'm starting with this scap grip because my goal is to keep you off your back. But once I get into the arm bar, it's just to keep your arm close to my chest so that when I fall, you don't go anywhere. So look, it's not my hand. I grabbed my thigh and now feel like this. It's all my forearm just clinching your arm to my chest like this. So I'm not even using my hand. My fingers aren't even closed, you know? And then do you feel like as I rotate, once I get to this point, I'm already closing my knees on your arm, like that.
As soon as you started to rotate, my arm was like under tension.
Yeah, it should be, that's how it should be, yeah.
Because I could feel it like as I was rotating, like I'm losing it.
There's looseness, yeah. Think about at this point right here. So I always squeeze up on my arm bar. Once I step over and I thread, I'm already thinking pop a beach ball between my legs. Like I'm squeezing my legs already. Like I'm already applying that. Yeah.